He Vaishnava Thakur Doyara Sagara Idase Koruna Kori Diapana Chai Shoro he amai tomara charana dori. Chaya bhega goni, chaya dosha shori, chaya duna deho dase. Jaya satsanga deho he amare bosashi sange rashi. Jaya satsanga deho he amare bosashi sange Itati amar nahi pai balo Hare Nama Sankirtane. Itati amar nahi pai balo Hare Nama Sankirtane. Tumi kripa kore Shadha bindu diya Deho Krishna nama khame. Tumi kripa kore Shadha bindu diya Deho Krishna nama khame. Krishna se tomar Krishna jite paro Tamara shakti ache. Krishna se tomara Krishna jite paro Tamara shakti ache. Amito Ganga Krishna Krishna Boli Dayata Pache Pache. Amito Ganga Krishna Krishna Boli Dayata Pache Pache. Oh hey Vaishnava Thakur Doyara Sagara Idase Koruna Kori. Oh hey Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur. Jai Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jaya Prabhupada. Ujjvala Varana Kura Varadeha Vilasita Niravari Baba Videha. Ujjvala Varana Kura Varadeha Mallikarjuna Nada Vishala Bhava Bhayavajana Karana Karuna Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Sachitandaya Aradam Maradara Charu Kapola Indu Vinindita Nakachaya Ruchira Japita Nijaguna Nama Vinodam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Sachitandaya Digalithanaya Kalajaladara Ushana Navarasa Bhava Vikara Jati Yati Mantara Nitya Vilasam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Sachitandaya Chanchala Charu Charana Jati Ruchira Manjira Ranchita Pada Yuga Madhura Chandra Venindita Shitala Bharanam Tampranamami Cha Shri Sachitandaya Satikora Kamandalu Ganga Divya Kalevara Mundita Mundam Durdana Kalmasha Kandana Dandam Kamprana Manicha Shri Sachitandaya Bhushana Bhuraja Lakka Valutam Kamdita Vindara Vara Ruchira Malaya Javira Chitta Ujjala Tilakam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Sachitandaya Shri Sachinandan Gaura Hari Ki Jai Nindita Aruna Kamala Dalanayanam Ajanulam Jagapinda Yugalam Kalevara Kaishora Nartaka Vesham Tampanamami Cha Shri Sachitandaya Shri Sachinandan Gaura Hari Ki Jai Ujjvala Bharana Kudavada Deham Vilasita Niravari Bhava Videham Jai Gauranga Mahaprabhu Tribhuvana Pavana Vilayation Tampana Mamisha Shri Sachitandaya Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana, Jaya Gaura Hari. Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana, Jaya Gaura Hari. We're coming from Sri Navadvip Dham. We all took the train, getting off in Vrindavan Dham. And we took a bullock cart all the way into Vrindavan, and now we're entering into the Mangal Artik at Shri Shri Krishna Balaram Mandir. 4:30 a.m. in Vrindavan. We're with Shri Shri Krishna Balaram, Shri Shri Radhe Shyam, and Shri Shri Gauranga. Everyone ready to enter the spiritual world? Yes? Ibabadi Shesha Aloka Nidrachari Utaji. Everyone together. Bolo Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayati Narasimha Vamana Srimanu Surana Rajena Nandana Shama Putana Katana Koitava Shatana Jaya Dasa Yashoda Julala Govinda Gopala Vrindavana Purandara Gopi Priyajana Radhika Ramana Bhuvana Sundara Bhara Dharana Tatara Makana Taskana Gopi Jana Vasraha Rajena Rakala, Govinda Kala, Chitta Hari Vaisesika Hari, Yoginda Vandana, Srimandananda, Rajana Maya Hari, Davina Nijada Rupa Manohara, Mohana Bhakti Vihari. Yashodanandana, Tanzani Surana, Nimujarasa Vivasi, Karambakanana, Rasa Parayana, Vrindavitina Nivasi, Ananda Varana, Prema Viketana, Pula Sharaja Gopanganagana, Chitta Vinodana, Samasta Gunaganandhama, Jamuna Jivana, Keli Parayana, Mahasa Chandra Kapora, Namchudara, Jai Krishna Jasya, Lakovakana Madamora, Hare Krishna. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Divinity and Divine Service. Do you have that recording? of Sutra Malika? Is it available? Could you bring me my bag, please? Nobody got it? Well, that's not good. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, like Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we have a recording, Sutra Malika Prabhu chanting the 34 verses, and it appears I missed also that he had done it in English too. Somehow it's in English. So I'll make sure it's available widely. I'd like to play it because we can chant along with it, but he does there's slight nuance in the way he does the tune in a couple places, which is nice. So I think we'll try that.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vyasavacha iti samprashna samhrishto vipranamro maharshinihi pratipujya vachastesham pravattum upachakrame. Sutavacha yam prabrajantam anupetam apetkratyam dvaipayano virahakatara ajuhava putreti tanmataya taravo binedus sansarva bhutarvayam munimanatosmi yasvanubhavam akhila shruti saramekam Adhyatmadipam adititirsitam tamundham samsarinam karunayaha puranakhyam tam vyasa sunam vapayami gurum muninam narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet munaya sadhu prashtoham bhavatbhir lokamangalam yakrita Krishna samprashno yenatma suprasidati savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktiradhokshaje ahaitukya pratiyatha yatma suprasidati vasudeve bhagavati bhakti yoga prayojitaha janayatyashu vairagyam jnanam shayara haitukam dharmas Swanushtitah pumsam vishvaksena katha suyaha notpadayet yatirati shrama eva hi kevalam dharmasya hyapavargasya narthorthayopakalpate nartasya dharmaikantasya kamulabhaya hismritaha kamasya nendriya pritir labo jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jignasya narto yasceha karmabhi vadanti tattvavidas tattvam yajnanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdate Tachadadhana muneyo jnana vairagya yuktaya pashyantya manichatmanam bhakta shruta grihitaya atapumbir dvijashreshta varnashrama vibhagashaha swanishtistasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam Tasmadekena manasa bhagavan sattvatam gati Shrotavya kirtitavyascha Dheya pujascha nityada Yad anudyasina yukta Karma granthi nibandhanam Chindanti kovidatasya Kona kuryat katharathim Shushrushoshadhanasya Vasudeva katharuchi Syanmahatsevaya vipra Punyatirtha nishevana Shrinvatam Svakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantaksto Hibadrani Vidhunoti Suhritsatam Nashtapraeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki Tada Rajastamo Bhava Kamalobhadayashaye Eta Eter Anavidham Stitam Sattve Prasidati Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Vidyate Hridaya Granthi Vidyante Sarva Samshaya Chiyante Chasya Karmani Krishna Eva Manishvare Ato Vai Kavayo Nityam Bhaktim Paramayamidam Vasudeve Bhagavati Gurvantyatma Prasadanim Wait. Rajastama iti prakriter gunastar Yukta para purusha eka ihasya dhate Stityadaye harivarinchi hareti samya Shreyam si tattva kalu sattva tanodrinam syuhu Parthivadharano dhumas Tasmadagnistrayi mayaha Tamasastu rajasastasmat Sattvam yad brahma darshanam Vedire munayothagre Bhagavantam radhokshajam Sattvam vishuddham chemaya Kalpante genutani hai Mumukshavo gaurarupan Hitva bhuta patinatha Narayana kalaha shanta Bhajanti hyanusuyava Rajastamaha prakritayaha Samashila bhajanti vai Pitribhuta pradesh Shri Aishwarya Pradepsavaha Vasudeva Paraveda, Vasudeva Paramata, Vasudeva Parayoga, Vasudeva Parakriya, Vasudeva Param Jnanam, Vasudeva Param Tapaha, Vasudeva Paro Dharmo, Vasudeva Paragatihi. Sa evedam sasarjagre Bhagavanatmamayaya Sadasat Rupaya Chasau Gunamaya Guno Vibhu Daya Vilasite Shveshu Guneshu Gunavaniva Antah Pravishta Abhati Vijnanena Vijrumbitaha Yata Yavahito Vahnir Darushvekasvayonishu Naneva Bhati Vishvatma Bhuteshu Chattatha Puman
Asau
Gunamayer Bhavayer Bhuta Sukshmendriyatmabihi Svanirmiteshu nirvishto Bhunte bhuteshu tadgunan Bhavayatyesha satvena Lokan vailoka bhavana Leelavataranurto Devatiryannaradishu Iti Srimad Bhagavate Mahapurane Paramahamsyam Samhitayam Pratamaskande Naimishiyopakhyane Dvitiyo Adhyayah Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari Om Tat Sat Iti.
Okay, now, Vaisesika will do the first 3 verses backwards. And then Shastra Sarprata will do the next 3 verses, starting from 34, 33, 32. Then you do 31, 30, and where's Shastra Sar? Is he here? Okay, give her a mic and him a mic. Here, you can give her this. Go backwards. What? You're going to say the verse backwards? No, just the order of the verses backwards. Because you can memorize things and your mind gets used to saying it based on the sound of the last verse. And then you don't really memorize, Hare Krishna, welcome. You don't really memorize the order as clearly as possible. But when you learn to do it backwards, which everyone has to do here to get full credit at Bhadra Purnima. You have to know the whole thing forwards and backwards. So do 3 backwards and then you do the next 3. Okay, go.
Bhavayatesha satvena.
Take down the thing. Turn the screen off. Quick. Turn it off. Okay, go ahead.
Bhavatyesha satvena lokan vailoka bhavana leelavataru nurato bhuntya devatiryanadishu.
A little slower, more feeling.
Asagunamayer bhaver bhuta sukshmendriyatmabi svanirmitesho nirvishto bhunkte bhuteshu tagunan.
Use the lifeline. Call a friend.
Yata avihito vanir darushveka svayonishu
Naneva bhati vishvatma
bhunkte
bhuteshu
tagunan.
Taya vilasiteshveshu guneshu gunavaniva anta pravishta abhati vijnanena vijrimbhita.
Call a friend.
Sa evedam sasarjagre bhagavan atma mayaya sad asad rupaya chasau gunamaya guno vibhu. Vasudeva para veda vasudeva para makha vasudeva para yoga vasudeva para kriya.
Well, there's more.
Vasudeva param jnanam vasudevam param tapa vasudeva paro dharmo vasudeva paragati.
Okay, now we'll all say those, don't put it up on the screen, but we'll all say those verses forwards again, okay? Vasudeva para da Vasudeva para makaha Vasudeva para yoga Vasudeva para kriyaha Vasudeva param jnanam Vasudeva param tapaha Vasudeva paro dharmo Vasudeva paragatihi Sa evedam sasarjagre Bhagavana mamayaya Sarasadrupaya chaso Gunamaya guno vibhu Taya vilashite shveshu Gunavaneva Anta pravishta abhati Vijnanena vrajrimbritaha Yata yavahito vanir Darushveka sayonishu Naneva bhati vishvatma Bhuteshu tagunan Saugunamayir bhavir Bhuta sukshmendriyatmabi Sanirmiteshu nirvishto Bhukte bhuteshu tadguna Bhavayat yesha satvena Lokan vailoka bhavana Lila vataranurato Devatirya naradishu. And now Avantika will give a commentary on the last verse.
May I see the translation?
Okay, show her the translation. And somebody tell her what the translation is, rather than showing her. Say what the translation is in general. You don't have to have it by rote, but you have to give the idea of what it is. Bhavayat yesha satvena lokan vai lokabhavana lila avataranurato. It's something about the incarnations of the Lord, or in the mode of pure goodness. And where do they appear? Deva, Tiryan, Naradishu. Deva means what? Tiryan means what? Aminals. Nara. Eshu. Eshu is the instrumental. So it means that Deva, Tiryan, Naradishu, there's a way in which he appears within all these species of life to perform pastimes. So bhavayat yesha satvena. Give her an idea of the translation. Say the thing for her.
So the Lord maintains the universe, and including all the planets, all the demigods who are existing, all the human beings, and also lower animals through his potency. And he actually takes the role of various incarnations, and then he performs his pastimes. And it is also mentioned that the pastimes and his incarnations, those are all in mode of pure goodness.
And does he appear in all those species?
Yes.
Okay. Expound.
So, if I remember correctly, the verse before this describes how the super soul is seated in everyone's heart, and Krishna sits in it to allow the living entities to enjoy their various desires. So I was just thinking how kind it is that Krishna comes first in our heart, and then, as this last verse mentions, also in the form of incarnations throughout all species of animals to give us multiple opportunities to reconnect with him.
And chant one Sanskrit verse to collaborate any part of this. Give a hint from your posse. Paricranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavam yuge yuge. Okay. We need one more commentary. Who are you pointing to? Aksharanita, he's got his head down. Give him the mic. Okay, which verse are we giving him? Shastrasar, which verse? Avantika did the last two, so back up one verse. What's the one verse before Asau Gunamayer Bhaver? Ha? Yata Yavahito Vanir Daru Shveka Soyonishu.
I don't know this verse.
You can connect with your research team back there. They'll help you out. You got some pundits back there. Come on, right next to you on both sides. Help them out. Yata means something. If you got a yata tata verse, it means it's a analogy. Yata tata. Say yata tata. Anytime you see a yata, you're going to find a tata somewhere else. It means just like this, then there's like this is like that. That's what it means in Sanskrit. So this is an analogy verse, and you could take this one to the moon. It means that analogy verses are so powerful, they're thought bridges. So you can use these when you're teaching Krishna consciousness to people in the Haight-Ashbury, right on the corner of Haight-Ashbury, even if they're not wearing clothes. So yata yavihito vanir. What is the comparison here? This is an analogy. What's being compared? Work with your research team. You got a pundit right next to you. Go ahead, ask him. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.
I was thinking.
What's the verse mean?
The verse means that the Lord is permeating, like the Lord, like fire permeates the wood. The Lord's also in all living entities. So the next verse was mentioning how the super soul is seated in the heart. So similarly, we can see how the Lord is kind of giving us everything that we have in this world. With thoughtfulness, remembrance, forgetfulness, and he also comes personally, visibly in front of us, which is 2 verses later, where we get the chance to, see him, and if we are inclined towards Shuddha Sattva, we can go back to him as well.
Okay, now what about fire and wood? What is that all about? How is there fire and wood? Get scientific now.
It's the potential that is there within the wood, that it can burn and produce energy.
It's in there, right?
Yes.
How do you know it's in there?
You've seen it?
Because if you go like this, then the fire will come out, right? So compare that to Krishna consciousness and Krishna within anything. How do you do this to get Krishna to come out? Yes, Ekachakra is on your team because he's near you, so he'll help you out.
Similarly, the spiritual master can ignite this fire in all others through legitimate hearing and chanting of Krishna's glories.
Find the verse that says that. It's in the 11th canto. It talks about starting a fire. You know this one? There's a verse specifically about how the guru helps to start the fire of Krishna consciousness living entities. That's good. We'll keep a track of that. Okay, you owe us one Sanskrit verse to collaborate whatever you said. I have one in my mind, and if you can do a Vulcan mind meld, you can know what I'm thinking.
I was thinking of Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sanni.
Go, sing it.
Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sannivishta Matta Smritir Jnana Pohanam Cha Vedeshta Sarverahameva Vedya Vedanta Krit Veda Videva Chaham.
Do one more from the Brahma Samhita. Somebody say it. Say it. Eko Pyaso Rachaditum Jagadanda Kotim Kotishva Shesha Vasudari Vibhuti Binam Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindamari Puja. You know that one? It's your homework for the day. Okay, congratulations to our participants. Okay, you have to learn the 34 verses. Get the 34 forwards and backwards and be ready to give commentary on each one, okay? Say yes. Haribol, Bhagavatam class. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna consciousness is ecstatic all day long, and it's all nectar. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu provided for his associates a mango tree, and the mango had no skin and no seed. It was just all delicious pulp. And one mango would fill a person's belly. And Krishna consciousness is like that too. We can drink to our heart's content all day long hearing and chanting. The only thing separating us is just a little bit of taste. That's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Anuragto habehe. And he says that if you don't get this anurag, which means a taste for hearing and chanting all day long, then he said your life is miche, useless. You just wasted your time. Whole human life, which is extremely rare, rarely achieved, and it's a finely tuned instrument specifically meant to tune into the sound vibration of the spiritual world. And if you don't tune into that, and instead you tune in to some radio station here in the material world, it's like using a racehorse to what? I need an analogy. A racehorse to carry trash. A $10 billion racehorse, there is no 10 billion, a $20 million racehorse to carry trash around. So now we're going to chant a song from Bhaktivinoda Thakur about the spiritual world. And these bhajans are ways to enter into the spiritual world right from this realm. We can make a tunnel that goes right to the spiritual world. We can enter straight into it, no waiting, right from here, right to the spiritual world. So let's try it for the song that Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote about his deities. These are about his own deities, and he's singing from his heart, remembering them. And we also should remember the deities that we worship so fondly that we remember them all day long, and we want to sing their songs about them, and we want to visit their places, and we want to come and serve them. Right? Do you have that? And pray to them all day long? Say yes. I must be not going to be laying down a bunt here because you really are not moved in on the infield very much. But Jayo Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nityanande Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gaura Hari Bo. And now, starting next week, we'll do the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya and the Narayanam Namaskritya in the same raga. Unless you want to do it now. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam Namaskritya. Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jayam Udi. Tato Jayam Udirayet. That's why I said next week we'll have it down. Sorry. Okay, now we're going to recite some verses from our acharyas. So, archaeologists, what's an archaeologist? You have to study. There's two things you have to study. You have to study geology and anthropology to be an archaeologist. Did you know that? It's kind of like a double major. And archaeologists, they look for, in the ground, they look for evidence of previous cultures. So we get information from these, well, archaeologists, not we, but archaeologists get information of previous civilizations and cultures from finding little items in the ground, like pottery and bones and things like that. So for us, what's passed down, we're also archaeologists, and we get these verses that are passed down from antiquity. They could come from thousands and millions of years ago, and they're perfectly intact. They have every facet of the aesthetic beauty of the spiritual world within them. So those who are archaeologists, they'll find something in the ground, like when I went to Angkor Wat. Anybody here go to Angkor Wat? Only me. Angkor Wat's one of the 7 wonders of the world, or maybe it's 6, I don't know. But it's the biggest religious structure in the world. It takes about a week to look at the whole thing. Originally, it was a temple of Vishnu. So there I saw UNESCO. They're excavating the place, and painstakingly, they pull out of the ground the smallest rocks and particles, and they'll put a number on each one of them. And then, again, painstakingly, they put them all together again. There are archaeologists who spend years reconstructing what was already there. And so we find these verses that are passed down to us, and then we may not recognize them at first, where they fit in or the beauty of them, but we take them and we have a little brush. You know, they have these brushes with a little puffer on the end, and then they clean them. They see, oh, like, where does this fit? And then they put it together. And with the verses that we get, where it's passed down to us, and we excavate them, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy, when they were discussing, Kaviraj Goswami said they were like miners. They were pulling out from the Shastra. Here, they're all the wealth that was already there within a vein in the earth, and then they were bringing it out and relishing it so much, become spiritual millionaires, billionaires nowadays. So there's a way in which when we take these verses from antiquity and we polish them off by saying them and respecting them and appreciating their value, and then seeing where they fit in to the Siddhanta, then we build for us the original forms of these verses, like little temples where we can go and worship, and they become our greatest asset in life. So here's a series of verses that we'll say before we talk about Bhagavatam, if I ever get to it. And here we go. At your disposal, right on the Jumbotron. So this is from Sridhar Swami, highly respected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's one of the commentators from thousands of years ago on the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we follow his mood of his commentaries, and here are the verses that he said before he commentated upon the Bhagavatam, specifically the prayers of personified Vedas. Vagisha yasya vadane lakshmi yasya chavakshasi yasyaste hridaye sambit tam nashingam baham vaje sampradaya vashudartam siya nirbandha yantrita shruti stuti imita vakyam karisha. Desiring to purify my sampradaya and being bound by duty, I will briefly comment on the prayers of the personified Vedas to the best of my realization. Srimad Bhagavatam Purvaye Sarata Sanishevatam Maitu Tadapasprishtam Uchishtam Upachiyate. Inasmuch as Srimad Bhagavatam has already been perfectly honored by my predecessors' explanations, I can only gather together the remnants of what they have honored. Now we come to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's honoring of the Srimad Bhagavatam before he gives his commentary. Mama Ratna Vinigbhavam Ratnanya Parichinvata Asantu Santu Chiremi Naswa Swanta Vinoda Krit. The saintly devotees may laugh at me for becoming a jewel merchant, though I know nothing about precious jewels. But I feel no shame, for at least I may entertain them. Name Sivai Dushyapinapi Bhaktir Virakti Raktir Natatapi Lalyad Sudur Manad Eva Bhavami Veda Stutyartha Chintamani Rashi Grignu. Though I have no wisdom, devotion, or detachment, I'm still greedy to take the philosopher's stone of the Vedas' prayers from the fortress in which it is being kept. Mamni chatayam avaveka vayu pravartate patayitum balaschet likam yataswami sanatana shri krishnang gribastamba kritavalamba. If the wind of indiscretion, my failure to acknowledge my lowly position, threatens to knock me down, then while writing this commentary, I must hold on to the effulgent pillars of the feet of Sridhar Swami, Sanatan Goswami, and Lord Sri Krishna. Pranamya Shri Gurum Bhuya Shri Krishna Karanarnavam Lokanatham Jagat Chakshu Shri Shukam Tat Upashraye. Repeatedly bowing down to my divine spiritual master and to Lord Sri Krishna, the ocean of mercy, I take shelter of Sri Shukadev Goswami, the protector of the world and its universal eye. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And after my respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the six Goswamis, to the Panchatattva, and to Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan. And today, I'll read from the Srimad Bhagavatam in the matter of Rukmini's message to Lord Krishna. We can learn a lot from this. One aspect of importance is that devotees have specific desires to please Krishna. This is one of the symptoms of advancement in devotional service, that the devotee begins to develop a desire to serve Krishna in a specific way and can't wait to wake up in the morning to do that. Goes to sleep only to get enough rest. Well, you should get enough rest. So you get enough rest so that you can do your service to the Lord properly. And this awakening of a desire to serve Krishna is symptomatic of one's advancement in devotional service. It becomes more important to the devotee than anything else. And Rukmini Devi, who is Krishna's internal potency, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he expands himself for his own pleasure. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Hladini Shaktirasmat Ekat Manav Api Bhuvi Pura Deha Bedam Kato Tau. Bedam Kato Tau. Tau means the plural. There's a way in which Krishna, although he's one, he divides himself into two. And why is that? For his own pleasure. And Krishna has enjoyment with his own internal energy. He has nothing to do with the external energy, which stays outside the spiritual world. But he does enjoy constantly and intensely with his internal potency. So Krishna's first expansion in his internal potency is Srimati Radharani. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Hladini Shaktirasmat. She's his Hladini potency, the potency in which he enjoys bliss or happiness. And then Srimati Radharani expands herself for Krishna's pleasure in different moods and which are expressed between Krishna and his devotees in different realms. Just as we know that Krishna expands himself unlimitedly, right? For instance, in the Sri Brahma Samhita, we can think right off the top of our heads, can't we, of two verses in which describe how Krishna expands himself. Ramadi Murti Shukala Niyamena Tishtan Nanavatar Makarod Bhuvanesha Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Parama Pumanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Ramadi Murtishu. Murtishu, he has these unlimited forms that he expands into, Krishna. And it's described elsewhere. Departure eva hita shantanama bhupetya. Yastadrage vahicha vishnu chaya vibhati. This describes how there's one original candle, and then it lights many other candles, and they all have the same illumination, but there is one original, and that original is Krishna. So similarly, Srimati Radharani is the origin of the internal potency of Krishna, and she expands herself into the queens in Dwarka, where Krishna enjoys in the mood of opulence, because Krishna marries various queens in valorous ways by doing what Kshatriyas do, and that is passing the test to be able to marry various queens. Of course, we know that Jambavati, for example, Krishna married after he had fought with Jambavan. Does anybody know who Jambavan is? What other Leela was he in? Yeah, he's in the Ramayana, so he's a devotee who was around for a long time, and he was in Krishna's pastimes as well, and it's in the context of the Shamantaka jewel. If you haven't read that story yet, you better read it about 10 times, because it's the most convoluted story in the Bhagavatam, in my humble opinion. But when Krishna goes to clear his name and enters into a cave to try to find the Shamantaka jewel, he was doing it based on forensics, because he went out and he was looking for Prasenna, who had taken off with the Shamantaka jewel to show it off. And he was copping a lien on his horse. And that's just when you get attacked by a lion. Is when you think you're the coolest person on earth, You're driving your car with two fingers and leaning out the window, stereo up high, driving down the street thinking, I'm so cool. And the next thing you know, either your radiator goes out or you crash or the police pull you over and say, like, you're going to jail. So Prasenna was showing off the Shamataka jewel. It was so effulgent. He thought he was so cool, and then the lion attacked him. And then Jambavan took the jewel and went into his cave. Now, of course, Krishna didn't know who had taken it from the lion, but Krishna went into the cave. His followers waited for him outside for a long time, but he didn't come back, and they went home with sadness. And meanwhile, inside, Krishna had found the Shamataka jewel, but it was with Jambavan's little child who was there playing with it, because Jambavan took it. It was an extremely valuable jewel, and he gave it to his kid and said, here, help yourself. So the kid was playing with it, and when Krishna came in and saw the jewel, he was going to take it from the kid, and the kid started crying. So then, of course, Jambavan came running out. So who's taking advantage of my kid? And they started fighting, and they fought for around 30 days, if I'm not incorrect. And at that time, through his fighting service with Krishna, because Krishna likes to fight, Jambavan came to the realization that I'm the strongest person I know except for Krishna. So this must be Krishna. And Krishna awoke in his heart the realization that this is my Lord. So then he offered his prayers to him, he gave him the jewel, and he also offered him his daughter, Jambavati. So just as the residents back home were lamenting Krishna's loss and they were starting to worship Durga to say, please protect Krishna, that's just when he came wandering back into town, not only with the jewel, but also a new wife, Jambavati. And if we go through, we'll find the 8 principal queens of Dwarka. Each one of them had been obtained by Krishna. That's a weird way to say it. Krishna had fought for each one of them in various ways in order to take their hand in marriage, which is, as I said before, the custom of Kshatriyas. There was some act of chivalry, fighting off, passing some test to be worthy to take the hand of the daughter of some king. So he had these 8 queens already, who were the principal queens. One among them was Rukmini. And, of course, we know the story of Rukmini, that she had decided, based on what she heard in the place where she lived in a palace, because she was the daughter of a king, and she had heard about Krishna's transcendental qualities. So this is one of the ways in which the acharyas show us the path to perfection in devotional service. As you all well know, the essential verse given by our main acharya, Rupa Goswami, says, Tandama Rupa Charitari Sukirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasanam Manasinyoja Tishtan Raje Tanaragi Jananugami Kalam Nayada Kilam Itupadesha Saram. That if you attend to the primary practices of devotional service, specifically hearing and chanting, you hear about Krishna and you chant about him, then naturally you'll transfer yourself to the spiritual world. And what's more, as we all have roles here in the spiritual world, sociologists explain how every child grows up in a family and then learns roles. We learn how to be a daughter or a son in a family, right? We're taught how to do that. It's natural. Then we have other roles we play. This is our superficial life in the material world. Sociologically speaking, we adopt the various roles for our own survival, mentally and physically. And in a similar way, Tishtan Raje Tanaragjidanagami, we then, after hearing about the residents of Vrindavan and their attraction for Krishna, we adopt roles that are there for us in the spiritual world. And so Rukmini had heard about Krishna sufficiently so that she had come to a resolute decision that she would marry him only. She wouldn't marry anybody else. And this is a good place to be, this kind of nishta. You become fixed. Krishna's not a thing in my life, but Krishna is. See what a difference a word makes? Krishna's not a thing, but he's the thing. And everything else is a thing, but Krishna's the thing. This is nishta, or being totally fixed in the purpose of life. And Rukmini had this mood. So she then had reached out to Krishna, and we too can reach out to Krishna, can't we? So one of the ways that we can reach out to Krishna is by chanting Hare Krishna. When we think about Krishna and our desire to meet with him, to be in his service, or to meet with his devotees and be in their service, we can then express ourselves by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Rukmini was in a very unique position in that she was a beautiful young maiden, and she came from royalty. And then Krishna was on the planet at the same time. So she decided to do something very bold. And what was that? She wrote him a letter. Have you ever written anybody a letter that you really cared about and your hand was shaking? And then you thought, like, how are they going to take it? Because if you send it and then your life changes, because once you send it, then you're thinking, oh my God, should I have sent it or not? It's different in the old days, kids. We used to write letters by hand. And you'd actually have to seal it in an envelope. And then you'd think about what kind of paper. What are they going to think of the paper? And what about the envelope? And everything was a matter of consideration when sending a letter to somebody you really cared about and say you wanted to express yourself and tell them how you really felt. It's a secret thing. They'd get the letter, they'd open it, and you'd be sitting there as like, how come 3 days have gone by? How about a week? How about a month? And there's a suspense in that. It's a very personal exchange to write somebody a personal letter. So Rukmini did this. She heard about Krishna so that her mind and heart filled up with this desire that I only want to marry Krishna. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Ye yata mam prapadyante tamstataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanavartante manusha partha sarvasha. This is a very general verse, but it means that Krishna reciprocates with his parts and parcels. We are eternally servants of Krishna, and we can serve him in various ways. We can serve him by a kind of appreciation from a distance. This is called shantaras. You just think, oh, God's so great. It's amazing. He's awesome. And then when there's a little spark of gratitude in the heart, then we think, well, can I do something for him? Of course, if one's contemplating the universal form and the more amorphous aspects of the Supreme, it may not come to mind how one might do service. But I remember the first time I realized it might be possible to personally serve God because I read the Bhagavad Gita. And in the Bhagavad Gita is the verse, Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhaktya prayashiti taraham bhakti paritam ashnami paritatmanaha. That if you offer me of love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I'll accept it. So I had read that several times in the little Bhagavad Gita that I had at home. And when I was walking to school at Del Valle High School, going up the hill, I thought, I have an apple in my bag, and I'm just going to stop right here in the middle of the hill, and I'm going to try this. I'm going to offer it to Krishna. So I took it out of my bag, and I held it up to the sky, and I said, please accept this. And I felt such a personal reciprocation that from then on, I offered everything I ate, but I didn't know how to offer. So when I was eating porridge, for instance, I'd hold up the spoon, and I say, Hare Krishna, and then I take the next spoon, Hare Krishna. Even though I was naive, Krishna still accepted it because he says in the Bhagavad Gita, if you offer me sincerely from your heart, I'll accept it. So there's a way in which he's waiting to accept our service. And when one realizes this, then there's this sense of dasya ras. Let me do something for Krishna. I just want to do something. This is when the soul comes out of engagement with the material world because we're by default servants of our senses in the material world. But when we think, let me instead do something for someone else, just like children. When they grow up, they're servants of their senses, and they want everybody else to serve their senses too, especially their mothers, because mothers, if you get on the phone when you have a toddler, the child will come running over, jump on your lap, and try to cover your mouth because it doesn't want you to talk to anybody else except him, right? They'll say, they're making noise, crashing pans, whatever it is, like, I want all the attention. But when kids grow up, there's a point at which, and it could be at 16 years old or it could be at 36, you never know, when they realize that my parents are amazing. They tolerated me for all these years. They paid for everything. They fed me. They listened to all my dreams and all my nonsense, everything, and they just loved me unconditionally. It's like, could I do something for them? And this is a new phase, opening of the consciousness of the developing child. So similarly, for the developing devotee coming out of the Shantaras, he or she thinks, what could I do for Krishna? And then there are very esoteric explanations given only through the line of the Vaishnavas, especially Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, about other ways that one can serve Krishna in a relationship. Another one of the relationships is friendship. It's inconceivable practically because we're talking about our relationship with God, but this is what's revealed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then above that, there's a sense of parental affection for the Lord, which he appears as a child. I have a picture of Krishna in my room as a little child. He's the coolest kid you could ever see. He's got a little tiger's nail around his neck and garlands and everything. He's sitting there just enjoying some butter. And you just think, like, wow, what a kid. And if you see kids, they're really attractive. But if you see Krishna as a kid, he has all the charm that anybody's looking for. He's the cynosure of everyone's eye in Vrindavan. And the parents and anyone who has this parental feeling towards Krishna, they just want to protect him. They want to serve him as some kind of guardian in some way. And then coming above that, there's a blossom. Is that impossible to say, or is it just me? Blossoming. Okay. Blossoming of the heart in which one thinks of Krishna as one's lover. Of course, these things are unspeakable, but they're there in the Srimad Bhagavatam nonetheless. And Rukmini had this awakening of love within her heart, and she said, I'm not going to marry anybody else, just Krishna. So that's where we are, and I'm going to read you a few verses from the letter that she wrote to Krishna. Just imagine, too, if you were going to write a letter to Krishna, what would you express from your heart? And seal it, send it off, and then you would have sleepless nights waiting to see, how is Krishna going to answer me? Wouldn't you? Say yes. Yes. Okay, she says this follows. O beauty of the worlds, having heard of your qualities, which enter the ears of those who hear and remove their bodily distress, and having also heard of your beauty, which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you, O Krishna. Purport. Rukmini was a king's daughter, courageous and bold, and furthermore, she would rather die than lose Krishna. Considering all this, she wrote a frank, explicit letter begging Krishna to come and take her away. Now, this expression in the purport that she would rather die than lose Krishna, this is what our acharyas say is the price for a relationship with Krishna. Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitomati kriyatam yadi kurtopi labhyate tatalolyam apimulyam ekalam janmakoti sukratirna labhyate. Rupa Goswami writes, the price to pay for entering into bhakti proper, that is a relationship with Krishna, is this sense of intensity. He calls it lalyam. If you've ever had, and we can use these comparisons to our attachments in the material world and then transfer them to the spiritual world for comparison. This is something that the Goswamis do regularly. have you ever had an attachment so intense that you didn't want anything else and you couldn't live without it? Just say yes. Yes. You don't have to say what it was. But if you come in, perhaps you've heard of the word infatuation. What does it mean? Let's hear. Infatuation. Where does it come from, do you think? High percentage guess is Latin. Infatuare.
Infatuate is a verb from the 1530s.
19, when?
1530s.
1530s.
Something to foolishness. Frustrate.
Something to what?
Turn something to foolishness.
Turn something to foolishness.
Mm-hmm. Or frustrate by making foolish.
Or frustrate by making foolish.
And it's from Latin, infatuatus.
Infatuatus.
Which means make a fool of. And then from in means in from Proto-Indo-European roots. And then fatuous, which means foolish.
Wow. What does that mean? Like infatuation? You may be infatuated so much that people say, like, you're acting like a fool. You're so attached, right? Yeah, infatuation. I never knew that. That's very interesting. So, lalya means this intensity, so much so that you will not think of anything else. It's your main objective in life. It's a very mundane way of putting it. It should be more poetical. But there's a way in which something you can't give up, you can't stop thinking of, and it's becomes so intense in your life. And perhaps you've experienced that in your life in one way or another. Oftentimes it happens, you get infatuated by a person, right? Only 2 people said yes. Everyone else is some kind of yogi and Shanti Ras sitting up on... No, no, we're humans. We're naturally attracted to others' qualities and their features, and then we think, he or she is the only one for me, right? How do we know that? Any song in the world. You name a song, I'll sing it, and then you'll know what everyone's thinking. And this is the misapplication of the principle. I sang it the other day, but I'll do it again. In Motown, you are everything, and everything is you. Yeah, who is that? Huh? I forget. Call Raghava, if he's listening, he knows. So, yeah, the Queen of Motown. Can't remember her name right now. I guess that's a good thing. Diana Ross and the Supremes. See, it's the Supremes. So there's this sense throughout modern and ancient poetry. If you read Robert Herrick and any of the romantic poets, it goes into this mood of it, the poetry that's deeply absorbing that we can relate to is about infatuation. That I become so attracted to a person, to a principle or something, I can't live without it. So this is the principle of bhakti. We just transfer it. And this is expressed here by Rukmini. I'll read her verse again, what she first wrote to Krishna. She said, "O beauty of the worlds, having heard of your qualities, which enter the ears of those who hear and remove their bodily distress, and having also heard of your beauty, which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you, O Krishna." Why does she say a shameless mind? Now's when we have human interaction. Kennedy.
Hare Krishna. She feels shameless because she's bearing her heart in a way that is super unbecoming of a woman of her stature.
Yes, and in a existential way, there's a sense that Krishna's so great that who am I to even say anything, right? To approach him. I liked what you said, the cultural aspect, and then from the aspect of me being a soul, who am I? One who's advancing Krishna consciousness feels insignificant. So insignificant that who am I to even ask? But because the desire is so strong, I'm going to ask anyway. I'm put myself out there shamelessly, and I'm going to say, because it seems, as one of our Vaishnava poets has said, like a dwarf trying to reach the moon. I'm reaching up. Who do you think you are? Shamelessly thinking you could enter into this realm, actually. You? Who do you think you are? That type of feeling, like, how am I qualified to be here? And interestingly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this is one of the main qualifications, to feel oneself fully unqualified. As Queen Kunti says, Janmaishvarya Shruta Shribir Edamana Madapuman Naivar Hat Yavidatum Vai Twam Kinchana Gocharam. She said, if you have a hint of what you think is a qualification, I'm qualified to reach Krishna because I come from a high birth. Anybody here come from a high birth? Don't raise your hand. Okay. Janma Aishvarya. Aishvarya means you're very opulent. Aishvarya Shruta means that you've learned so much. You've heard, you went to the best school. Where's the best school? Give a shout out for your alma mater. Don't do it. Shruta, Shribir, and then there's this sense of being beautiful. It's like, I look so good. No wonder people love me so much. Enamana puman. She says, Naivar hat yabidatum vai. That this becomes a kind of intoxication that prevents you, that takes away your qualification to approach God. So she says, you should be like Rukmini is here. Says, I'm shameless because I have no qualification whatsoever. And that's called a kinchana. Kinchana means I have a little something. I got a chip in the game here. It's up my sleeve. Anytime I can show it and everyone will know who I am. Hey, I went to school, man. Or, hey, don't you know what family I came from? I'm from Trivedi background. Whatever it may be, someone might say, I'm from this background. I was in a beauty contest when I was a kid and I won. I was in a talent contest in kindergarten and I won 7th prize. Don't you know who I am? So there's a way in which there's some little thing this conditioned soul harbors in this world that this is my identity of distinction here in this world. If those who approach Krishna, like Rukmini, they say, I'm shameless because I have no qualification other than my burning desire to approach you. And this is called a kinchana. I have nothing. I have no qualification whatsoever. Shamelessly, I'm approaching you and I'm saying, there's no one I want to be with, no one else I want to look at, no one's name other than you. I don't want to sing any other name. I don't want to be associated with anybody who doesn't say Krishna's the thing, Krishna's just a thing, or he's nothing. A lot of people say that. There's no God, or he's just one amongst many. And some people are envious, like Shishupal at the Rajasuya Yagya, which was done by Yudhishthira specifically to glorify Krishna, although it seemed to be about Yudhishthira because Rajasuya Yagya establishes who's the king who can help organize all the other kings in all the regions, because we need that in human society. You need somebody in charge, right? Otherwise, you get a bunch of little fiefdoms with everyone fighting over scarce resources here in the material world. And so at the Rajasuya Yagya, when it was performed, then there's a time at the sacrifice that there'll be a discussion about who is the most worshipable of all personalities. And Samba got up. He was a little younger than some of them, but he glorified Krishna so nicely. And all the venerable devotees who were there were appreciating so much Samba's speech, except there were a few who didn't. One of them, and the chief among them, was Shishupal. And Shishupal had this burning sensation in his heart. Have you ever had this? Burning sensation? Somebody's being glorified and you go like, not that guy. Don't you know he's an idiot? Only I know he's an idiot. Why are you glorifying him? And Shishupal felt like that towards Krishna. So he was thinking like, this is the worst thing that could ever happen. And finally he couldn't stand it anymore. And he stood up and he said, oh, who is this Samba? Who does he think he is? Well, there's so many other qualified people here. Anybody but Krishna. And this is the mood of the materialist in the world. Anybody but Krishna. Just don't glorify God. Glorify everybody else. Because if you say God, then that means he's big and I'm small and I have to surrender, and I don't want that. And Jayadvaita Maharaj once said that sometimes the people come into a room and they all gather together, and there's some who are obviously more accomplished than others, but then the ones who are less accomplished will say, well, let's just all be equal. But that's not how it works. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is a Supreme Being, and our hearts are only satisfied when we establish that fact. That's why Yudhishthira did it and said Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And look what he's done for us. So this is the mood of the material world. Shishupal had it. And so when one gives that up and surrenders one's heart to Krishna and admits that he's the best, the most beautiful, and I have no qualification, then one can write such a letter. And I'll read the next verse. In the next verse she says, O Mukunda, you are equal only to yourself in lineage, character, beauty, knowledge, youthfulness, wealth, and influence. O lion among men, you delight the minds of all mankind. What aristocratic, sober-minded, and marriageable girl of a good family would not choose you as her husband when the proper time has come? Therefore, my dear Lord, I have chosen you as my husband, and I surrender myself to you. Please come swiftly, O Almighty One, and make me your wife. My dear lotus-eyed Lord, let Shishupal never touch the hero's portion like a jackal stealing the property of a lion. So the proposal was to marry her off to Shishupal. And this was at the insistence of Rukmini, who was her brother. So he had it all wrong, and he was envious of Krishna, so he said, marry this other guy. He was very wealthy, was Shishupal, but he was a rascal, as we can see, and Rukmini wanted nothing to do with him. So there's this suspense that she's, in the culture of the time, being subjected to this hierarchy in her family that we're going to marry you off. And the father was going along with it, not because he liked Shishupal, but because he was showing deference to his eldest son. So then she writes, if I have sufficiently worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead by pious works. Is everyone tuned into the letter still? If I have sufficiently worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead by pious works, sacrifices, charity, rituals, and vows, and also by worshiping the demigods, brahmanas, and gurus, then may Gadagraja come and take my hand, and not Damagosha's son or anyone else. Purport. The Acharya's comment as follows on this verse. Rukmini felt no one could obtain Lord Krishna by the efforts of a single lifetime. Therefore, she earnestly pointed out the pious activities she had performed in that life and previous lives, hoping to convince Sri Krishna to come. O unconquerable one, tomorrow when my marriage ceremony is about to begin, you should arrive unseen in Vidarbha and surround yourself with the leaders of your army. Then crush the forces of Chaitya and Magadendra and marry me in the Rakshasa style, winning me with your valor. As Srila Prabhupada points out in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Rukmini, being born of royal blood, certainly had a brilliant grasp of political affairs. She advised Sri Krishna to enter the city alone and unnoticed, and then surround himself with his military commanders as he could do what he could do what was needed. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti compares the coming fight to Lord Krishna's churning the ocean to extract the goddess Lakshmi. Gorgeous Rukmini, the goddess of fortune, would be gained in the coming turbulence. So, as you know, in the Bhagavatam, there's a story of the demigods and demons working together, oddly, to churn the ocean of milk, because there was a time at which the demons had usurped the heavenly planets because of Indra's faux pas in not honoring his guru properly, so he lost his opulence. Meanwhile, the demons had worshipped their guru sufficiently, and therefore they gained the upper hand, and they were able to drive out the demigods from their higher region of Swarga. And when the demigods came to the Lord and said, "Can you help us out on this one? Little help, please." And the Lord said, "Timing's not right. What you're going to have to do right now is work together with the Asuras, and you have to churn the ocean of milk, and from that combined effort, working together with your enemies, you're going to get a pot of nectar." And so in that churning process, which is oftentimes compared to the way that we engage ourselves in the process of devotional service, we churn and churn, just like chanting japa this morning and every other morning. We don't know what's going to come out, right? But you have to churn nonetheless. In fact, you can think of your japa beads like that. Like you're churning, and you just keep churning, and in the ocean, the goddess of fortune came out, and she looked at everybody. She looked around, and she said, "No, not qualified, not qualified, not qualified, not qualified, not qualified." It's all mentioned why she saw so many great personalities, and then she said, "Okay, only Krishna, only Vishnu. He's my husband." So Rukmini is like that. Okay. She says then, "Since I will be staying within the inner chambers of the palace, you may wonder, how can I carry you away without killing some of your relatives? But I shall tell you a way. On the day before the marriage, there is a grand procession to honor the royal family's deity. And in this procession, the new bride goes outside the city to visit goddess Girija." Purport: clever Rukmini anticipated a possible objection on the part of Sri Krishna. He certainly would not object to subduing rascals like Shishupal and Janardhan. But he might be reluctant to injure or kill Rukmini's relatives, some of whom might block his way to the palace's inner sanctum, where the women were protected. The procession to or from the temple of Girija, Durga, would provide the perfect opportunity for Krishna to kidnap Rukmini without harming her relatives. And now we're going to chant together the next verse, which is 43, because it's such a nice verse, and I recommend that you take this verse and put it on a card, and then when you wake up in the morning, after you say the pranams to your guru, and to say the Panchatattva Maha mantra and the Hare Krishna mantra, then say this verse before you step out into the world. Okay? Okay, 3 of you said yes, but that's good. I only had 3 cards to share today anyway. Yes yangri pankajaradas napanam mahanto. Oh, sorry, I'll wait till it's up. It's verse number 43. Maybe you were on the wrong chapter. It's chapter 52, text number 43. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Yasyangri Pankajaradas Napanam Mahanto. Vachantyumapatir Ivatmatapu Pahatyai. Yaryam Bujaksha Nalabeya Bhavat Prasadam. Cha Yam Asun Vratakurshan Shata Janma Bisyat. And the translation is, O lotus-eyed one, great souls like Lord Shiva hanker to bathe in the dust of your lotus feet and thereby destroy their ignorance. If I cannot obtain your mercy, I shall simply give up my vital force, which will have become weak from the severe penances I will perform. Then after hundreds of lifetimes of endeavor, I may obtain your mercy. And the purport, the divine Rukmini's extraordinary dedication to Sri Krishna is possible only on the spiritual platform, not in the fragile world of mundane affection. So let's just have a couple of questions or reflections. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I was thinking about the letter when you were talking about a few years ago when we didn't have all the social connections. I was remembering that, I had finished my master's. I came back home. My parents would not allow me to go to temple. My friends would actually take lectures and they would write the lectures down in letters. And every week I will look forward to read a lecture because there's no other way I can actually listen to a lecture. There was nothing online. I can't even imagine there was an era that way. And there was no we had desktops at colleges, but we didn't have like personal laptops or smartphones to even look at pictures. And I was thinking that I would wait, once a while they'll send a picture of Radha Gopinath, what did he wear? And I still have those letters, I still have the picture. And I was thinking that I don't know if it's, if this era of any time I want, I can see the picture. I don't know if I would long to see or long to read and relish and read the same lecture over and over again. I was just thinking that I probably was more Krishna conscious that way.
Yeah, I remember when Prabhupada used to send a letter. In fact, he mentioned, we were doing some research in our work, and Prabhupada said his letters actually weren't meant for everybody. He didn't want them published. He said they're very personal. There's a long history of why they were published, but in any case, he said, or I was saying, that when Prabhupada would write a letter, it was a rare event, and when it would arrive at a temple, whoever received the letter would share it with everyone else, like they'd gather around. Because there was no, I hate to alarm anybody, but there was no social media or email. Don't become traumatized. So there was a way in which everyone would hear some personal instruction to a person Prabhupada had written a letter to, or if it was in general to, sometimes he wrote letters that were meant for public consumption, at least from all the leaders. And someone would read it aloud, everyone would gather around, or there would be a Ishtagoshti to hear the letter and to read it. So yeah, I agree that the letters were much more precious at that time. Nowadays you get so many letters in the email. In fact, Vaisesika Prabhu was showing me yesterday how to dispose of 30,000 boxes in my email. Actually, I have 92,000. So he showed how you could categorize them and, deal with them each. And it becomes so overbearing sometimes that there's so much, then you forget about the individual purpose behind one communication, right? Okay, yes, Rasa Sindhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. I was reflecting on a number of things. On the topic of letter, you mentioned the words Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, and I was reflecting that the word Patram also means letters, and so offering letters to Krishna in that regard. And also, sometimes Krishna is called Patri, or who would write letters to the gopis. There's a famous devotee named Patri Prabhu in Nepal, and he explained the origin of his name, so I was reflecting on that word. I was also reflecting on the idea that you mentioned, that the previous acharyas, their feet are pillars, and the offering prayers to the lotus feet of their pillars, actually, and how in English there is a phrase called standing on the shoulders of giants, and those acharyas and their lotus feet are those pillars. And then the other thing that struck me was the idea of churning. The idea of churning, Mother Yashoda churning the butter and bringing out. Krishna churning, I forgot the reference, but Krishna churning the hearts of the gopis and bringing out the purest emotion. And then you mentioning churning of the chapa beats to bring out pure naam. So those were my reflections.
I also think of Sankirtan like that when we were in Haight-Ashbury. I must have had a good time because I keep mentioning it. But we were there. It was the last Grateful Dead concert. That's what I heard. And that's why there's so many people there. But I felt like you don't know who you're going to meet next or who's going to come out of the crowd. But you just keep churning. And then all of a sudden somebody comes out and said, oh, yeah, I've been looking for many lifetimes for this. And to me, it always felt like a churning process, that you just enter into the crowd and keep presenting, and then somebody comes out by the arrangement of Krishna. Nice reflections. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So when you are mentioning that Krishna is not a thing and the thing, I was recalling like many years ago, maybe 8-10 years ago, I went to Pleasanton with some of the devotees for book distribution. And we came across a devotee, a person who is also from Bangladesh, which I came to know about later. Anyway, so we were talking about the Bhagavad Gita because he was telling that, oh, I'm not from Hindu background, I'm from Muslim background. So we are telling that, okay, this is the book of yoga. And then he was telling that you have so many gods. Krishna is one god. So he is speaking, what is special about it? I said, no, Krishna is not a god, he is the god. And if you read Bhagavad Gita, you will understand it. Then he exchanged actually a Quran, a compilation of Quran, and we gave him Bhagavad Gita. So I recall that, the A and the event through that.
The A and the event, yeah. And there's an event in one's life when it transfers from A to the. Yes.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, thank you for...
Oh, and let's see, we have Shankari Kaur's up there. Okay, all right, she's next.
I have a question. So in the first verse of the letter, Sri Rukmini says that, having heard of your qualities, I have fixed my shameless mind. So devotees also hear about Krishna, but the mind doesn't get fixed on him. Even I was hearing the Rupa Goswami's prayer that let the bee of my mind taste the nectar of your lotus feet. So what is the reason that my mind is not getting fixed at the lotus feet of Krishna?
There could be many reasons why a person, I don't want to venture about you personally right now, but I would say in general, there are ways in which we may have a lot of noise in our minds and hearts, attending to various precarious worldly situations, and we may be a little distracted. And then, of course, not you, but there's possibility that as I mentioned this morning, one's taste can wane if we make an offense to a devotee, something that I doubt you've ever even come close to. But so there are many ways in which we could be waylaying our taste. Nonetheless, we should also know that whatever state we're in now, even if feel like we're the most impure and most unqualified person, that connection with Krishna in any of the ways that is available through the process of bhakti yoga is so powerful that it will overcome whatever anomalies are there within the heart and mind of the practitioner. So much so that the Padma Purana says, Nama parada yuktana naman yeva harantigam. Avishani pruktani nam ye varta karani cha. That if you're the most offensive chanter when you're chanting Hare Krishna, it's like, oh, my life's a mess. How are you doing? My life's a mess. And I'm doing it, I'm the worst of the worst. So what does the Padma Purana say? Oh, and you even say, I'm so offensive. So I'm chanting in Nam Aparad. So what are you supposed to do? Keep chanting. And as we hear from Krishna also, Jata Shradama Katasu Nirvina Sarvakarmasu, etc. It's a long verse. But in the verse, Krishna says that there is a time at which you feel like you're swimming in the ocean and you don't know when the shore is going to come. It's called a nartanivritti. You're in the middle of the ocean, you're swimming, and you don't know when the shore is going to come. So what do you do then? Keep swimming. You can't go back because it's probably equidistance anyway. So you have to keep swimming. And there's a way in which we have to use our intelligence at that time before we have taste. And Krishna says, Evam buddhi param buddva samstabhyatmana mahatmana jahi shatram mahabaho kamarupam durasadam. He's like talking in these very chivalrous ways to Arjuna. He's saying, stand up and fight, warrior. Use your intelligence. So you have to use your intelligence to understand causality, that I've gotten myself into the jam in the material world in the first place because of sowing the wrong seeds. And now you can also understand with your intelligence that if you sow good seeds, they're going to sprout sooner or later, especially if you keep watering them. Even if you're a really bad gardener, somehow or other, some seed's going to come up. So Krishna gives these encouraging words, and he says, don't worry where you're at now, just stay in the process. And any doctor will tell you the same thing when he or she gives you some medicine. Have you ever gotten this instruction? That you take this, there's 12 days, there's 24 pills, one in the morning, one at night, and you have to take all of them. Did they ever tell you that? Yes. So even if you start feeling better at 10, you don't stop taking them, right? Or you're going to ruin it for everybody, by the way. Don't make superbugs, everybody. So you may not feel it yet, but you have to use your intelligence to understand what it is that you're doing and appreciate the fact that you're following in the footsteps of the great souls. And then there's a way in which, as you stay close to Krishna, somehow or others, try to stay alive somehow or other. Drag yourself, if you have to use your fingernails to drag yourself to be close. Prabhupada once said, God helps those who help themselves, and helping oneself means putting oneself in front of transcendental sound vibration. Somehow or other get there. Even if you're like, I'm the most qualified, who would even let me in here? Didn't you notice that you let in a rogue inside here? And it's like, doesn't matter, just get in there and be near the vibration somehow or other. You feel like, I can't chant, my chanting's worthless. Everybody ever feel like that? I had a friend a long time ago, he said, I'm so fallen I can't chant. It's like, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. So chant, somehow or other, keep the vibration going. And what will happen is you'll have an event. It'll happen sometime practically unexpectedly. You'll be standing in a kirtan and the crowd will swell and the kirtan hits a crescendo and you'll see the deities, and then you'll see Balaram's beautiful. He's so white, and I'm in Vrindavan, and all of a sudden there's something in your heart that just changes, and it's indelible, and you'll never be the same. And even if you are the same externally, internally you know that you've got something. When I first came to the temple in San Francisco, I was an impersonalist because I was trained that way by my upbringing and all the books I read, except for Prabhupada's books. Although I was reading personalist books, it still didn't grip me. I liked Bhagavad Gita because of the logic of it and the system of it. And then the Bhagavatam, I'd look at the pictures like, who are all these people? And like, it's a little too personal for me. And I remember I appreciated the atmosphere with the deities. Like, I don't know. I'd look at the flowers and I think, yeah, I can relate to that. And then one day in Bhagavatam class, the temple president, Bhutatma Prabhu, was giving the class. And he was reading a section of the Bhagavatam about the queens in Dwarka and how they couldn't quit Krishna's lotus feet. I just remember that phrase coming across, and I was like, all of a sudden I just felt something in my heart, and I was never the same. In the association of devotees and hearing and chanting, the power of the process takes us. We have to be close to it, but we're not the doers. Krishna, when he wants you, he'll come and get you. So stay in there and keep chanting and doing the process. In the beginning, use your intelligence, And your taste can come from doing your duty in the beginning, because there is a taste in duty also. When you do your duty, you feel noble, right? Don't you? It's like, I did the right thing today. I chanted my rounds. Like one of my godbrothers in Mayapur, I hadn't seen him for decades, and he's a Bengali devotee, and he told me, nowadays, of course, now we're all old, as godbrothers and gods, just so we share how somehow or other we're surviving in the world. And then he said, so nowadays, when I wake up, before I get out of bed, I chant 16 rounds. And then he looked at me and said, you must pay your tax. I have to pay my tax before I go out in the world. So whatever way you can muster to stay in the process, then you go on, and there's a taste in that. And then at the time when Krishna deems the time for you, he'll put something in your heart, a spurti, some impression that you'll be so profound that you'll say, wow, I got that. You hear a bhajan, you'll see a Vaishnav, and you think, that Vaishnav, they don't have a material body. Their body's made of prasadam or something. It's like, and they're so sweet. You're looking at the Vaishnav, and they're so sweet, you just think, I want to take them home. Like, it's like, keep them like this, It's like, I just want to be close to the Vaishnava. Something will happen. You'll see a verse on the board, and it makes sense to you, and it all comes together. That's Krishna's mercy. He wants to take us back, but we have to make ourselves available, just like Rukmini was saying. I'm shameless. I'm useless. I don't have anything. And if it takes 1,000,000 lifetimes, she's saying that I'll just go on doing austerities till I drop dead. It's like, okay, Krishna, if you don't come and get me, I'm going to fast and I'll keep dying over and over again until you notice me here. That's how determined I am. And if you have that and you just keep going, because you can definitely categorically rule out the material world. It's a ship of fools in the material world. You can ascertain that from reading the Bhagavad Gita. And if you make that distinction, and then you dedicate yourself to the process and say, I know I'm getting good medicine, that's good enough. You don't have to have some taste and be trembling and tears flowing from your eyes. It'll come. We know how it'll come. Why? Krishna bolbe jabe pulakahabe jorbi anki bolitai. Yeah, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, you keep at this, little jiva. Next thing you know, you're going to be shedding tears because this holy name is so powerful and your relationship with Krishna is so sweet that it's going to overcome you. So just wait for it and be in that mood. Last one. Oh, right. I'm sorry, Shankari Kaur. It's a place in Vrindavan, Shankari Kaur. I love those names of places in Vrindavan.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances. So 2 reflections, Guru Maharaj. When we read about the definition of infatuation, I was just thinking that Krishna would be looking at me and thinking, what a fool she is. She's so infatuated by the material world still, So I was just thinking like that. And next thing I was thinking about is Rukmini Devi says that if you don't come and get me, I'm going to die. I was just thinking that as a jiva, when I associate or I think myself to be the body, I'm already associating myself with matter which is dead anyway. So I might be eating, drinking, moving about in the world, but if I've not realized my spiritual identity, I'm dead any which way because I'm associating myself with something which is dead. I'm identifying myself with something which is dead anyway. So just these 2 reflections.
Yeah, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as mentioned by the author of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he went about his daily duties, taking prasadam, taking a bath, and things like that, as something mechanical. He wasn't thinking about it so much. It was just externally going about it because he was so absorbed internally in thinking of Krishna and pining for him that everything else became externalized. Okay, there was a couple more. Yes.
So I was just thinking, and I was also wondering if you could speak about this point that I was contemplating, that this letter is a very secret letter. It's not something that she's sharing with anyone and everyone because it's a very dangerous circumstance, you could say, for her to reveal this So I was thinking about in Narottam Das Thakur's Prema Bhakti Chandrika, he talks about not to reveal one's bhajan. So I was drawing those two comparisons in the course of the lecture. I was wondering if you could speak about this principle of not revealing, because as you were speaking about in Krishna Sakaprabhu's question, there is this developing attachment that does come in the course of time, but revealing that attachment, Narottam Das Thakur says that you can lose it. So I was wondering if you could just speak about the secrecy of one's relationship developing with Krishna.
It's like in financial matters. Don't tell people how much money you have. You don't say like, hey, I got 2 million, man. Next thing you know, your 52 cousins are going to be calling you. It's like, you know, my mom told me you have $2 million and I need new teeth, so pay up. You're the only one in the family who has it. Chanakya Pandit said, never tell people your financial situation. Let them figure it out themselves by your lifestyle. So in the same way, the reason we don't reveal whatever spiritual wealth we have is because the false ego, who I imagine to be like a little dictator, he sits on an ornate stool and he's got a little crown made out of velvet with some gold embellishments and a little scepter, and he says, I'm the king of the world and I'm the king of your life too. And whenever you have anything of value, he said, I'll take that. He appropriates everything just like a dictator. And the only way to get around him is to go under him. Trinadapi sunichena. You have to be so humble that you just go underneath and beyond. And every time we bring up to anyone, even ourselves, it says in the Brihat Bhagavatamrita that don't reveal your spiritual treasures even to your own mind. Because the mind can also, infected by the false ego, then say like, I'll take that. And by the way, yeah, I am pretty good and I'm entitled. And then you're out of the Akinchana realm. So we don't reveal our bhajan, we don't reveal anything. Everyone figures it out. And they'll especially see that you're doing that. But you have to be careful about that too. See? It's an urgency. Because there's a way in which, even as you're doing your bhajan and you're starting to feel that, wow, I'm really making progress, and the next thing the mind will say, like, I wonder if anybody's watching me chant like this. I'm so absorbed. I wonder if anybody could see me chant like so intensely. And you look around and nobody cares about me. They care about themselves. They're all thinking, I wonder if anybody's looking at me. So we have to be self-contained and go beyond the conception that I have to show it off because it'll be robbed from us. People will find out that you have it and they'll come take it one way or another, and especially the false ego, who's like a highwayman. You know, those people, when you're driving along, they block the road with a log. They used to do this in Vrindavan all the time. Then they come running out and take all your treasures. So keep your wealth hidden. Okay, one more on Zoom, and we're getting a little late. So, okay, Divya Agarwal, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I'm from Atlanta.
Atlanta?
Georgia. Yes.
Fantastic.
We
love Atlanta.
I had a question about Dasa. Like when you pray to Radha Krishna saying that, you're my parents and I'm completely dependent on you. So please do whatever you think is best for me. So what kind of a rasa would that be? Would that be dasya? Would that be shanta? Like when you're looking at yourself as a dependent on Krishna, and when you look at Krishna as someone who's maintaining you?
It's mentioned as a mood of surrender, generically, that we should consider that Krishna is our protector and he's our maintainer. These are two of the foundational principles out of 6 of what is called Sharanagati. And in that sense, it's a very basic feeling that I'm only maintained by Krishna and I'm only protected by Krishna. And this goes under the general category of Shraddha. Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kohe Suridhanastroy Krishna Bhakti Koila Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. That Everything is done if I just put it in Krishna's hands. And so from that base of surrender to Krishna, then one will awaken more specific feelings for Krishna, which we can think of for a much later time. As Rukmini says, some lifetime. We don't think, where's my rasa? We think like, Krishna, just let me surrender to you. That's the basic thing. And then sometime, some lifetime, or as Rupa Goswami says, why should I even imagine that I'm not worthy in this lifetime or many other lifetimes? That's the feeling of humility that a devotee has, instead of thinking like, come on, where's my rasa? Let me in somewhere, like I'll force my way in. Like somebody walks in the temple with their boots on and it's like, no, you can't wear shoes here. No, I come in, it's me, I'm fine. So we can't barge into the spiritual world and, reveal a rasa. That comes as Krishna reaches out to us. There's a long explanation of that, or short explanation, but very important, the way that awakens by association devotees, by Krishna's mercy, the mercy of the Vaishnavas, that comes to one quite naturally, so we should wait for it. Thank you for such a nice question, and please give our best to everybody in Atlanta. Hare Krishna. Okay,
Hare Krishna.
Really the last one here.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I really love the analogy of mining for jewels, how we're acting like archaeologists. And especially the verse you shared from our Acharya, where even though he knows nothing about jewels, he's doing it just to entertain the great sages. It made me feel encouraged to keep mining for these jewels myself. And as far as Rukmini's letter, I was thinking about how he really knows her heart. He even mentions at some point, I believe, he couldn't even sleep at night thinking about her. But still, she had to take the action. She had to write the letter, go through this process you described of thinking, should I do it? And even came up with the plan herself. And then Krishna made it so dramatic, wait till the last minute. And I was thinking, he really loves to maximize the emotion in all these interactions. And how if we take the leap, even though we're not sure, but if we're sincere, then he'll catch us. That was what I was thinking about this.
Yeah, the whole pastime has so many lessons in it, and you brought out so many nice ones. One of the sweet parts, which I'll mention now, I mentioned before, some of you were here, some of you weren't, that after Krishna swooped down and picked up Rukmini while everyone was gawking at her. In fact, she was so beautiful, because she's the goddess of fortune. People can't take their eyes off her. Everyone's waiting for the goddess of fortune. Jayam sada paribhavam abhishtadoham. There's a way, tyaktva sadusyaja sarepshita Raja Lakshmi. And as I mentioned in the Bhagavatam, like everybody, even the devas, they're like, where's Lakshmi Devi? If you go to any respectable Hindu's house, you'll find outside little Lakshmi Devi. Everyone's like, Lakshmi, come on in. So when she actually shows up, everyone's going, what? They were falling off their horses backwards because she was so stunningly beautiful. And then Krishna swoops down, picks her up, puts her on his chariot, and starts driving off. And then he used the word tavakai. And tavakai means that now these are all your soldiers. They belong to you. So Krishna's so personal with his devotees that when he takes us in, then he says, this is all yours. Everyone in the material world, they're working for scraps. And they're paltry, and they're also temporary. You get it, and then you lose it, and then it's dry. But when you surrender to Krishna and say, I have nothing, then Krishna says, okay, you're with me, and by the way, all my stuff, that's yours. These are all at your disposal. The whole world's at the disposal of the devotee. So that comes out in the story of Rukmini and Krishna taking her up. So, we may take the basic lessons that Rukmini is teaching us and follow them, and also remember this pastime of how she very boldly called out to Krishna and said, I'm unqualified, but please come and get me. And when we're chanting, we can say, Krishna, I'm here. Please come pick me up. I'm lost. I'm useless. I'm full of faults, but still, I'll sit here and I won't move until you come and pick me up, and stay and chant. Om Tat Sat. And now we have the main event of the day. We've invited one of the youth to come and give a talk about Krishna consciousness. Oh, here he is now. It's a handsome young man. Okay, so we'll rearrange a little bit. I'm moving, and then Prabhu, please come up.
This one, I don't want anything. Mataji, this mic is... Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for such a nectarian class, Maharaj. Just so many reflections and thoughts on this wonderful pastime. So today's, moving on to today's youth presentation, it will be by Giridhari. So Giridhari is going to talk about, do I need a guru? That's the topic. And I just want to fondly mention that Giridhari always reminds me of his service to the cows at Sri Krishna Purushottam Prabhu's farm. In the pandemic, there were a lot of times when he would spend a lot of time serving the cows. So he has a very wonderful heart. And thank you for allowing me to teach you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone. My name is Giridhari, and I'm going to try to answer the question, do I need a guru? Hare Krishna. My name is Giridhari, and I'm going to be trying to answer the question, do I need a guru? First of all, we have to understand what is a guru. A guru is a spiritual legend who transmits transcendental teachings for our transformation. A spiritual teacher, a bona fide representative of the gods, empowered by him. Example, the mother and father are the first teacher.
Close your mic to the mouth, closer.
Of a child. Furthermore, one is taught by several teachers or gurus in one life, both materially and spiritually. The gurus, empowered by the Lord, help us by guiding us on the spiritual path, teaching us the essential attitudes in us. And he also invites us back to the spiritual world through eternal life. We also have to realize that this world that we stay in is not a permanent place, and there's a higher place. We also have to use the most of we can in this world. Example in Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna says to Uddhava, the rarely attained human body is like a strong boat. A bona fide guru is like a captain of the boat. The Lord's instructions is the form of scriptures are like the favorable winds. A human being is expected to utilize these advantages and cross the ocean of material existence. Otherwise, one is considered the killer of one's own soul. Transparency and transmission. A guru is a transcendental teacher of spiritual science who has faithfully followed and implied the teachings of his own bona fide guru. Receiving the favor of a guru depends on the disciple's sincerity in following his order. An Acharya such as Sudha Goswami has attained his qualification by his simplicity and submissiveness to his guru, who endured him in all confidential teachings of the scriptures. True teachers, his realization and his solemnity. The Srimad Bhagavatam says, the Acharya is as good as myself, never disrespect or envy a guru in any way, and never think of him as an ordinary man. It is also mentioned that a guru is a very responsible position, and one who cannot deliver his dependents from the cycle of birth and death by teaching them the process of bhakti must not accept the position of a guru. The guru should also be well versed in the philosophy of Krishna Tattva and Vishnu Tattva. Proponents of true process. Srila Prabhupada says that the duty of a guru is to find the means according to the time, place, circumstances by which people can come closer to God. Great acharyas like Ramanuja, Madhvacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Vallabha, and Nimbarkacharya, and the disciples and predecessors have translated spiritual prescriptions on bhakti into practical methods to follow daily. Example, Prabhupada told us to chant 16 rounds, follow 4 regulated principles every day. The disciple's duty. A guru is just like a parent. Just as a child's growth depends on the attentive care and guidance of a parent, a disciple's advancement in spiritual life depends on the guru. A disciple makes the best of his association with guru in proportion to his eagerness, sincerity, and service attitude. Srimad Bhagavatam says in Canto 11, anyone who desires real happiness must seek a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 34, Tadvini pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te gnanam jnanidas tatvadarshina. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him, submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Any comments, any questions?
Thank you very much. So you've convinced me that I need a guru. How would you recommend I choose my guru in this society with so many wonderful gurus?
So you have to a guru. So if you find a guru, if you think he's qualified, you ask questions about him. You try to test the guru, and once the guru has you feel like the guru has given you enough knowledge, or he cleared your doubts, then you can accept him. Or sometimes the guru comes to you, or he comes to preaches to the world, like Srila Prabhupada and his disciples. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for taking the time to thoughtfully weave the various aspects of Shastra together to present Guru. It's one of the most difficult tattvas to explain according to our acharyas. I'm curious to know what process you took to put this together. What was it like? Did you look through various books? Did you consult somebody? Tell us how you did this.
So I used the Bhagavad Viveka, the example, a base thing, and then I used the Bhagavad Purana, the thing of Bhagavatam, as a Shastra, and Bhagavad Gita as a source of authority, and also my teachers, such as my teachers around me, to help make this, and my friends. So I hope that
So what did you do? Did you do a search for various concepts?
Yeah,
in the database or something like that?
Database sometimes, and
What did you look for?
Basically, what can an example of a guru, basically, and
when you did a word search, what did you put in?
I flipped to a book and I found that in that first page. So.
I see. Well, thank you very much. It's an important process to investigate a particular tattva and then put together a tapestry of ideas from the Shastra as you've done, and we really appreciate it.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yes. You can still wait. Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Sorry to make you stand up there longer. I loved your presentation, and it helped me realize that the Guru is a bridge to Krishna, and anything involving having knowledge of Krishna, being able to interact with him, is a mercy only he can bestow. So it reminds me of such a great gift we all have.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we can stop here. Or any other comments, questions? Okay. Oh, yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for your really awesome PowerPoint. I just wanted to appreciate you. Imagine it take quite a lot of time and effort and strenuous concentration to put this together. But it was really nicely organized. Especially appreciated how you had very simple information on each slide. It was very easy to catch each point, and it was very well structured. And it pleased me very much, and I'm very satisfied with you, Prabhu. And
thank you.
Just wanted to appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Giridhari. That was excellent. I do want to mention, since a lot of you are asking about the content, we have a textbook called the Bhagavad Viveka, written by His Grace Gaurang Darshan Prabhu, that we follow as our curriculum for the 12 to 14-year-old class in our Sunday school. So that's where we have a lot of these topics and some points on which we can then deliberate on and research. Thank you so much. And with that, we'd like to move on to the next part of the program, which is Guru Puja. So we'll stand up and put the asanas away and prepare the floor for the Guru Puja. Thank you so much.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Who would like to sing together some beautiful prayers after that talk about the Guru that glorify the Guru, and also the first one is a prayer of gratitude. How many would like to participate? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, everyone, here we go. Nama Shreshta Manamapi Shachiputram Atra Sarupam Shi Rupam Tasya Grajam Uruparim Maturim Goshtavatyam Radha Kundam Gidivaramoho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto yasya pratita kripaya Shri Gurun tam natosmi. Hey Guru Jnana Dadina Bandho Swananda Data Karanaika Sindo Vrindavanasina Hitavatara Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachara. Hey Dina Bandho Karanaika Sindo Kuru Prasada Mai Mandamudhe Vaksha Paradhe Bahupapa Gadhe Tatpada Padmestu Matishta Krishne Naivo Payantya Pachitim Kavayasta Vesha Brahmayushapi Kritam Ridda Mudasmaranta Yontar Bahisthanubritam Ashubham Vadunvan Acharya Chaitya Vapusha Swagatim Yanakti. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Shachi Mata, the association of Srila Sarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami and his older brother Sanatan Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radha Kund and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for loving service to Sri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I'm a dull fool and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science could not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with the prolonged lifetime of Brahma, for you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya and internally as the Supersoul, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. Shri Guru Chara Padma Vallabha Sahji Sadma. आहार प्रसारे भाई भवतो विराजा Krishna Prati Hoy Jai Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Gokulanandana, Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gopinatha, Radha Gopi Ballabha, Radha Kirshor Gopinatha, Radha Kunja Bihari, Radha Landanishvara, Gandharvika Giridhari, Radha Nila Madhava, Radha Parishvara, Radha Parthasarthi, Radha Radhanatha, Radha Ramana, Radha Rasvihari, Radha Rasvihari, Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Vrindavan Chandra, Radha Vrindavan Chandra, Rukmini Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish, Kishore Kishori, Kishore Kishori, Radha Govinda, Radha Kalachandji, Bhajare, hey, Govinda Gopala Hare, Bhajare, hey, Govinda Gopala Hare, hey, I say Shri Bhagavana Mere Paramba Pranamhe, I say Shri Bhagavana, I say Shri Gyana Shyamako Mere Paramba Pranamhe, I say Shri Gyana Shyamako Mere Paramba Pranamhe. Go Premanande! Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo.
Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Paradi Rajavgacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Shriman His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parirajagacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Shriman His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dhamma Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Navadweep Dhamma Ki Shri Jagannath Puri Purushottam Vipralamba Setra Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Harinama Sankirtana Ki Jai Brihat Mardanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai Nittai Gaura Premanande. All glories to the Assembly devotees. All glories to the Assembly devotees. All glories to the Assembly devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga.
A warm welcome to all the devotees who've assembled here today. And we have now a couple of short presentations from two of our departments. First one, we'll hear from Bhakti Community, and then we'll hear from our co-Sankirtan leader about where we're going today for Sankirtan. So, who's giving for Bhakti Community? Okay. Jai Madhava Prabhu, let's give him a hand.
Hare Krishna. Thanks, everyone. As you all know, Bhakti community is a community of spiritual seekers who are interested in learning and practicing Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of love and gratitude. And after the books are given, we help the newcomers learn the wisdom and care for them so that they can make progress. And today we do have few of them who have joined here, so I wanted to thank them for coming. And one is Tori. She has, I think, driven 3.5, 4 hours. I don't know how long it is, Twin Heart from here, but she has driven 4, 5 hours all the way here. So thank you so much for coming after so long time. Yeah, very happy to have you back. And we also have Catherine, who has joined for the first time here.
Haribo, Catherine.
So Catherine has been a very regular participant of various programs at Bhakti Community, and she is a very inquisitive spiritual seeker. She asks very intelligent questions, and I was very happy that with Krishna Prabhu's inspiration, I believe, Krishna Prabhu's inspiration, who inspired Catherine to come, and she was here at 6 o'clock, I believe, right? Is what you is that? Yeah. Catherine, if it's okay, do you want to just come and say a few words, or if not, it's fine.
Give her the mic. People online can't hear you unless they're all leaning at the edge of their seats.
Thank you for this community and everyone here today. Much gratitude. I could really feel everyone's hearts, and it's very emotional today. It's beautiful. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Catherine. Yeah, very happy to have you. And please let us know how we can be of any help. Any other newcomers you are missing? No, okay. With that, I want to just share a couple of slides which I'd created. I'm not able to present, but at least I'll shift through them.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare. I'm just waiting for the slides to come on. If
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So as I mentioned, in case you come in contact with newcomers, please do go to encourage them to join Bhakti Community, where we have various programs to introduce them to Bhakti Yoga. So you can sign up going to bhakticommunity.com, or you can send an email to hi@bhakticommunity.com. And this year, there are a couple of reflections which came about, so I thought it will be helpful to just go through what newcomers benefit they are getting. One is from Achyuta Balram Prabhu. He shared a newcomer's reflection. The session was great. I really enjoyed it very, very much. Thank you so much for introducing. And he also had a newcomer who chanted 16 rounds for the first time. It's a Western newcomer. She has come all the way from East Coast, and Achyuta Balram Prabhu has been very instrumental. I'm just trying to see where he is, but yeah, he has been very instrumental in encouraging her. So she has chanted 3 days now, consecutively 16 rounds. So please pray that... So please pray so that she can continue to make progress.
And second is from Manjari Mataji. We had a very nice series we started, Success Sadhana, yesterday. And one of the participants she shared, this was a wonderful session. Thank you for allowing me to be part of it. This all is very new to me, my first experience with it. But what I appreciate is, number one, the opening meditation, and number two, the participation slash community. What I liked about today was that Vaisesika Das started at the beginning, basics with definitions. I like the information about Vedic wisdom and its connection to the tree. Thanks so much, Manjari Mataji, for sharing this. And these were the various leaders who introduced newcomers to this Bhakti community. This week we have Katha Prabhu, 4 newcomers, Praveen Prabhu, 2 newcomers, and Krishna Saka Prabhu, Vaishnav Toshini Prabhu, Ayan Prabhu from Seattle, Vicky Mataji and Manjari Mataji and myself. We were able to introduce one each. So thank you. So thank you all, leaders, for introducing. And as I mentioned, the new Success Sadhana series called Inner Harmony, Embracing Ancient Wisdom to Cultivate Mental Well-Being and Conscious Living. So that was started. We had the first episode yesterday, Introduction to Vedic Wisdom, which, in the next slide, we had more than actually 100 registrants, and we had almost 60 people who joined. So 60 was by Ananga Mataji. She was able to inspire 60 people to register, and Manjari Gopi Mataji and inspired 11 people to register. And before I forget, the beautiful flyers you see is all, I forget which one is Kennedy doing, which one is Vicky doing, but they both tag team, and they both have created these beautiful flyers. So. So thank you so much. They both have been such a breath of fresh air in terms of creating such inspirational postures that I'm receiving lots of positive feedback. So really, thank you so much for both of you. Next is new Bhakti-on series has started, which is Secrets to Controlling Your Mind. We had the first session last Monday. It's a 4-part series. So when those who have questions around mind, meditation, etc., they'll benefit from it. We continue our Bhakti Circle batch, which we have. It's an 8-part series. We finished the second part, Pursuit of Happiness, last Thursday. And we had Chuck Prabhu from Stanford, Krishna Prabhu, Pavani, helped by Kennedy and Reshma, and Yashodhakar Prabhu. They all were the leaders leading the Bhakti Circle last week, so thanks to them. And we also have a new mantra music program, which is primarily focused on Kirtan, which was started a week ago. Next stop, the Mantra Zone. And we had Ekachakra Pran Prabhu, who led the first program for us. So thank you so much, Prabhu. It was wonderful, a very melodious kirtan and a very simple talk, which everyone really appreciated, because we had newcomers, so they really liked how he could simplify it for them. So it was very beneficial. And all thanks to all the prasadam people, all the devotees who brought prasadam as well. So yeah, thanks so much. I ran it long, but I just want to make sure all the events which is happening, I want to share. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Bhakti community ki jai. And thank you, Jai Madhava Prabhu. And now we have our co-Sankirtan leader, Malin Devi Dasi, who's representative of the 9th largest entity of book distribution in the whole world. Also, chasing Pune this year to beat Pune in sets distribution. Please tell us what we've won.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. To start off with, what a nice class today, when all the devotees, and especially the addition of the Brahmachari team coming from LA, it felt like the sages sat down in Naimisharanya and reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, which we are trying to distribute as well. So it's a full circle, reading and distributing. And I was very much touched by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's prayer, where he mentioned that, I think even Prabhu also mentioned that even though he's not an expert in collecting gems, but he wants to become a merchant of that. And it may be that the previous acharyas would get a good laugh out of it. I was just thinking that even when we go on the streets to present Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, sometimes to connect with people, we try to use different languages, like Spanish, or maybe some broken Vietnamese, or whatever it may be. When we speak, I feel that we are trying to sincerely present. They'll just get a good laugh at it, and they probably will be pleased with it and just get a book. So the main goal is to connect with people and then bring them back to connect to Bhakti Circle, Bhakti community as well. So this last weekend was very successful. Apart from distributing Srimad Bhagavatams that we heard from Achyuta Kumar Prabhu, this time we want to hear from two different teams. One is our Youth Sankirtan team who went to Haight-Ashbury. And we would like to request Halayuda Kripa Prabhu, who is very sincere. He doesn't miss a single Youth Sankirtan. If he's here, please, yeah.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you, Malini Mataji, for the introduction. Yes, every month, Kameshri Mataji expertly organizes all the youth to go on Sankirtan, whether locally or a little bit far away. So last week, we did a big expedition to Haight-Ashbury, and we were so grateful that Maharaj was able to join us too. I just wanted to share a little experience I had from that. I noticed that when we got there, at least for me personally, I found it a little bit intimidating to be in the hustling, bustling crowd. There was a lot of things happening around there. Like, here we live a nice, quiet, peaceful life, but out there in the city, things are loud. People are like, zooming by. There's a lot of things in the air. So it's sometimes difficult to concentrate and remember what we're there for. But in the beginning, it was hard. But once we started going, once we saw Maharaj doing books, once we saw people finding success on their own, it inspired each and every one of us to try our own endeavor. And in the end, at least I felt this satisfaction that we tried to do something good today, and hopefully we touched some souls. And one more thing is, we often hear it, but it's very nice to experience it, that you don't know who you're going to meet and how they're going to react to what you give. So in that environment, I was thinking, what sort of people will come? Will they even like what we're giving out? They're much more interested in other things, right? But when we present them the Bhagavad Gita or the Bhagavatam or even the small books, you find some really sincere souls, because they're going into the world trying to find answers, and they don't know that there are answers like this to be found. So it's our job to go out there, present it, and just do our duty. And then people are really open and really happy. And a lot of people hugged us. They gave us gifts. They were so happy to meet us. They took pictures. And it was just really blissful. Thank you.
So, Kameshwari, who organizes the Youth Sankirtan, she makes sure that not only the kids get to go out, but she arranges for prasadam. Last weekend, there were no volunteers to cook prasadam, so she personally cooked for all the devotees who went out. So it really helps if the youth sign up ahead of time so that we know the count, and we can provide more opulent prasadam as well. So just a note for the next time. And also on the Western Sankirtan front, last week, Kautukarna Prabhu and who all went? Nikunja Nayak Prabhu also went with him. So Prabhu can give us a quick report, Kautukarna Prabhu. Yeah. And he will also announce the spots for the Western Sankirtan.
Hare Krishna. That was an ecstatic kirtan, so my voice is... Sankirtan was really good. I want to share that we have started Spanish Sankirtan, exclusively going out for Spanish Sankirtan. So, led by Adin Prabhu, Tim Prabhu. Tim Prabhu and Satwat Prabhu, they are going regularly for Spanish spots exclusively, at least twice a month. And they have also prepared these language cards. So anybody Even if they don't know Espanol, they can speak Espanol. Hola, ¿cómo está? I'm also learning from them. Tenemos libros de sanación, de elevar conciencia, de salud. So books on healing, elevating consciousness, health. They have also written the first purpose of ISKCON in Espanol. So we have that full written in Espanol so that we can show them and people take books. Thank you. So I'm very excited about Espanol Sankirtan. So many more devotees will join and we can expand this. So regarding our traveling Sankirtan, it was really, really amazing. As Maharaj mentioned in the lecture today, it was churning of the milk ocean. We went to the Peach Festival in Marysville, and we tried there for a couple of hours, some nice people, and then we were kicked out. So just like the poison comes out first, you know. And it was extremely hot. You know, can you guess what was the temperature?
90.
It's 108. So we were just sitting in the van listening to the class, Saturday morning class, myself and Nikunj Nayak Prabhu, and chanting our japa. But the next, we called Madhav Govind Prabhu, Halder Rupa Prabhu for inspiration. And that's how we kept going, even though we were feeling the hot poison coming out from the Vasuki, or I think that's the snake around the mountain. So next day we went to World Fest in Grass Valley, and guided by Devrata Prabhu, how to maneuver entering into the festival. We were successfully able to enter, and then we were going to every encampment. So many thousands of people have their camps there, and we were picking up some nectar from every flower. So they were so nice people. As Maharaj mentioned, during churning, they get so many nice things coming out, like the horse and then Aravat elephant, so many nice things. Before we met this nice lady, so as Maharaj mentioned, we just keep on doing, and then somebody comes out, just like the goddess of fortune came out. So we had two such experiences. One lady, she took the book and she was so happy. She said, "You have come just at the right time." She said, I was looking for this, and she started crying to receive Srimad Bhagavatam. We offered her Srimad Bhagavatam, and she started crying. She said, this is the best thing. I mean, she didn't say that, I'm paraphrasing, but she was crying almost, that you have come here. And she called me that you are a monk in disguise, right? so, and she said, why don't you wear those things that Hare Krishna used to wear? I said, it's easier to relate to people. She said, okay, I understand. People can connect with you. And then we met another person. He was just doing his own business, but as soon as he saw us, he lit up, and he started telling about his practice. He used to practice Kundalini, and then he was not able to get what he wanted out of it, and some devotee sent him the Krishna mantra, and he started chanting Krishna. He really likes Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and he said, that's when I felt I was getting somewhere. And he happily accepted Bhagavatam. He gave whatever money he had. He also took Chaitanya Charitamrit, and he took a set of Bhagavad Gita case, one box of Trimurti, to distribute to others. So we are going to invite them to Bhakti community so that they can go to the next step. And I'm very thankful to Malini Mataji, who is allowing us to use this traveling Sankirtan van, and so that we can go far and wide and distribute these books. And I'm very grateful to Jai Madhaprabhu and Pavni Bhakti Mataji, who they are giving us the platform to bring people. And of course, His Grace Vaisesika Maharaj and Guru Ma, who are cultivating these nice seeds into blossoming flowers. Thank you so much. Spots for today. So we have spots, Mountain View downtown. Madhav Govind Prabhu is taking a team. Haribol. anybody who wants to go nearby for a couple of hours, you can go to Mountain View downtown. Then we have a festival in Berkeley. It's called Front Row Arts Music Festival, as far as I remember. So Vaishnav Toshni Prabhu and Adin Prabhu, they are covering that festival. And then we have a spot in Sacramento. It's Cal State Fair. Cal State Fair. So Krishna Sakha Prabhu and daring and active Krishna Sakha Prabhu and Achyut Balram Prabhu, they are going to cover that spot. And we have a few other spots. We might go to Sunnyvale or some ICC Cupertino, some Indian stores. So Manjari Gopika Mataji will take that team. So that's all for the sports. I hope I didn't miss any. Hare Krishna.
We have spots in Cupertino for Bhagavatam, Fremont Bhagavatam, and a team in Dublin as well. So if you like, please join. And just wanted to remind our 3 battle cries. One is smash the 3000. Second is beat Pune. Beat Pune. And third is get the 34. Yeah. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
I would just like to suggest that the devotees who are going out in this heat, that you stay hydrated, and not just with water, that you put electrolytes in your water. It makes a really big difference. This heat can be quite dangerous. Sunscreen, a hat, and electrolytes, please. We love you and want you to stay well. Thank you.
Haribo.
And now Shreya is going to announce about the Kirtan.
Hare Krishna. There's going to be a back-to-school Kirtan Jam on July 29th in the temple from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. And the ages are 8 to 14, the Kaishora group. And if you would like to enroll yourself, you can contact Deepali Mataji or Seshri Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Today's prasadam was cooked by Hansapriya Mataji, Shama Bhakta Prabhu, Naveen Prabhu, and Vedant.
Sharira Vijaja Jodendriya Taheka Jive Pele Dishaya Shagare Sarma Je Jivayati Loba Moy Sudurmati Take Jeta Katita Shanshare Krishna Bora Joya Moy Tori Bare Jivaja Shapsa Unnati Lobaha Sheyana Vitapa Radha Krishna Gunada Dene Dako Chaitanya Nita Preme Dako Sri Chaitanya Gita Mat Sade Govinde Namata Abe Sapa Punya Matanda Prasade Sada Sana Adiyatya Pudaya Pasana Desa Soyati Pada Sita Satvaya Upadita Gandha Bhaktivanta Sita Bodhi Vedata Savamaya Devahi Bhagavati Mahaprasad Ki Gopremanande Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Please come take prasadam. Hari Bol. Prasadam today will be served in the picnic area. Go straight out this door, take a sharp right, and you'll run right into it. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone. Vanchakoptavischa, Kripasanabhevacha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha.